Hello and welcome to episode 174. Definitely forgot and had to check the show notes of First Geek 411. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me, as always, the Montana Mountain Man, Chris Nicolay. How you doing today?
Hello, I am good and hot and trying to stay cool. So, lots of lights are off. We went from 60 to 70 in like a day. It's great.
Also staying cool, I assume. I don't know anything about Canada. Shanine Thompson, how you doing today? You're muted.
Surprisingly hot and humid.
We just assume Canada's always cold.
Yep. I literally assume it snows there all year round.
You just literally
it does.
You cross the US border and it's just snow all the time.
Not today.
Yeah. Basically the other side of the wall in Game of Thrones is pretty much what I imagine.
Yeah.
And then joining us from, I was going to say snowy Colorado, but you're not in Canada.
It's not snowy.
Emma Reisenauer.
It's a good day to be alive, folks.
And we are glad that you are alive.
Yes. For listeners, I got in a car accident this morning. I'm alive. I'm well. Hopefully the repairs aren't too expensive. So yeah, that's about that. It's a good day to be alive.
Yeah. Very happy that you're here with us tonight.
Yes. Me too. Me too.
Listeners, this week we got E3, we got Wasabi, and we got Windows 10. And then we got our top 3 people or characters that would make terrible boat captains.
That's what I was thinking of. Right.
And as always, you can find us on our social media as OneGeek411. You can join our Discord server and shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You can go to our website, onegeek411.com, and then you can watch live on Twitch Monday nights, 6:45 Mountain Time, and find the videos over on our YouTube, where you can like, comment, and subscribe. And speaking of subscribe, you can do that wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. It's 174 episodes, and I finally thought of that transition. Good job, Cameron. And then you can also check out our Redbubble store if you would like any First Geek 411 merch. So with all that said, Emma, what has been your favorite thing this week? Or what have you been up to this week? But
I watched Wonder Woman 1984 or whatever it is that movie is, and it was just as debatable as I thought / expected. Storyline could have used some work, which is like nothing new at this point. I played a one-shot D&D game with some friends from high school on Saturday. That was a lot of fun. We traversed through the digestive tract of a whale because we're all science nerds, and that's the kind of thing we find fun in a D&D game. And then we got to shoot out its blowhole at the end, and it was fun.
Self, have Emma's character be eaten by a whale. Okay.
Are you kidding?
I actually have a one shot
by that.
written, or not written, that I have a one shot that I found that's kind of along that premise.
Yeah. It was so fun. We got to fight a giant octopus and some giant crabs, and we all were just like, yeah, how big is this crab? What kind of crab is it? Give us the Latin name for it. That kind of thing. Because we're all science nerds. And then as several
It's a fantasy realm. There's only one crab. One type of crab. It's just crab.
Latinus crabius.
We don't speak Latin in this realm.
Close enough. And then, as several of my other co-hosts will probably mention, I watched Loki, and that was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, that's a summary of my week.
What class did you play in D&D?
I basically played
a Dragonborn druid.
My Dragonborn druid. It was a cousin of Fernan, if you put it nicely. In other words, just a re-mock-up of Fernan, with some different stats and stuff, just so I could, and like setup and stuff, so I could play around a little bit and like experiment in a slightly different arrangement. So.
I didn't actually think it'd be.
It was actually. a
I
remock
was
up
just
with some
making a
different
joke.
settings. But I did though. We had me and then a fawn druid who was basically just a hippie who ate pot brownies all the time.
This is a druid party.
So Fiernan got
Yeah. And then a dragonborn ranger and a dwarf that just Hulk smashed things, essentially. So it was fun.
Very nice. Shanine, what have you been up to?
Okay, I finally started our book club book, Not All Who Wander
Excellent.
Spiritually Are Lost by Tracy Rhodes.
Initial impressions?
Initial impressions is I really like talking about church, and I really relate to a lot of the good and a lot of the struggles. So I'm excited to talk about it. I have sticky tabs on like every single page. I'm like, oh no.
I haven't started it yet, but I'm kind of interested because I read nonfiction way different than I read fiction. So
Yeah.
like I don't typically like underline fiction books of like, oh, I like this quote, but I 100% do that with nonfiction. And so I'm
Like
going to actually
someone
like have
actually
quotes that
said
hopefully
this.
won't be the same quotes that Shanine already has planned in the show
What are the
notes.
chances they will be? Pretty high.
Pretty high.
No, I'll leave some for you guys. Yeah, and my husband and I also continued our play through of Phoenix Wright. I'll just say I'm way better at solving crime than my husband is.
Get wrecked, Travis.
It's, I don't know. Somehow my brain works the same way the game works. And I'm just really good at figuring out like Phoenix Wright's hold it moments and stuff like that. And we also watched the first episode of Loki. First impressions, really into it. Still in love with Tom Hiddleston. And always like just surprised as usual by Owen Wilson, because I always see him in stuff and I'm like, why would you pick Owen Wilson? Like he's so Owen Wilson. And then I see him and I'm like, oh yeah, it's because he's actually a really good actor. I forgot.
I will say he has been my biggest disappointment so far. And that's because he has not said wow. You had one job, which is to end the first episode with him saying wow.
Shanine, when you said he's basically just being Owen Wilson, I thought of this statement. So who's that guy who does like all the poor like bad comedy movies? Jeez, what's his name? Chandler? Not Chandler.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. He's as Owen Wilson as as Owen Wilson as Adam Sandler is Adam Sandler. Like I don't know if anyone is going to understand that mental connection in my head that I do in my head, but like he's just a certain type in terms of actor.
Mm-hmm.
That in the same way that Adam Sandler is a certain type.
I think they got Cameron hooked because they're gonna wait to have him say wow until the very end of the season.
Yeah.
I will be super sad if we had to wait till the very last. Like, as long as it
It's
happens.
gonna be like the last 10
but-
seconds of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like imagining though that he just sort of knows all about this wow thing, that like everyone, like this running joke about himself, and he just like throws it in because he can.
I feel like Owen Wilson is a very like self-aware
Yeah, he's
actor. He's not going to be like, like where we make memes about an actor because but they take themselves too seriously, so they don't realize and they're not unaware. So when people do that impression of them,
He kind of seems like the person, like you always hear about like celebrities that are like super high maintenance. And they're like, I must have exactly 8 grapes in my dressing room before the show. And like Owen Wilson's like, I just really want to say wow, guys.
Yeah.
Like, there's this meme, and I just really need to say, wow. You know, like, we can do that.
Spoiler alert,
And-
the Loki show is just Loki causing mischief and making an entire show leading up to Owen Wilson saying wow.
Oh, that's it. So as it escalates, it's like, is this the thing that's going to get him to say wow? Oh, Shanine.
Yes.
Telling you,
That was big brain.
It's not going to be until the end, and it's Cameron's going to be hooked, just waiting for the moment.
Also,
Just glued.
apparently,
He's not
Our
going to actually know what's
friendly-
happening in the show.
since we're on this topic of Marvel / Loki, apparently in that initial like ticket room that he's in, one of the murals on the wall has Stan Lee in it. And one of the running theories, yeah. So if you watch it again and look super closely, there's Stan Lee and one of the murals in that like ticket room. So a couple of people are theorizing that like all of his appearances throughout the different movies are like he was a TVA agent and he was just like making sure everyone stayed on the right timeline and he was just jumping around. So
Oh man, I gotta go watch the episode again.
bummer, dude. What a shame.
Okay. And my biggest thing from this week is I finished Attack on Titan.
How much did y'all watch this
Or
week?
you're caught up to Attack on Titan.
Caught up. I have watched all that is out and
We should
possible
specify.
for me to watch.
She does not think
Yeah.
it's done yet.
No.
And she did not somehow and not share with us that she got early access to a completed
Yeah, no, I
Attack on
wish.
Titan.
I've been like going back and forth between being shook by everything that's happened and being shook that I suddenly can't watch any more new episodes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know which has me more shook.
The more episodes part.
Yeah. Oh man.
Soon.
It had me in my feels a lot. And I can't wait. I can't wait till the end of the year.
Just beat up Travis and be like, "Why'd you do this to me?"
Yeah, a little bit. I'm like,
It's like you couldn't
"We
wait till it
should've
was all
waited.
done. Yeah,
we should have waited. I'm like, you just wanted me to suffer with you.
That happens to me
Man.
every time I start simulcasting a current anime that's really good. And you're just like, have to wait till next week.
But like, you guys know how long it takes me to watch anime.
Apparently not very long.
Yeah,
It takes
not if
me
it's
even
this
longer.
good.
Yeah.
Or
I
it takes
mean,
you long, it takes me even longer. So,
all you've shown me the last like month is that it does not actually take very much.
So if you're gonna recommend me anime, just make sure it's on the same level as Attack on Titan, and
So
I
wait,
will get it watched.
Are you only in the shonen then? Is that what you're telling me? Or
I'm into anime that has a plot line and is building towards the biggest mind-blowing finale of your life.
so sports animes.
That's just Chris. No matter what you would have said, Chris would have been sports anime.
yeah.
True.
Maybe.
You could replay the
Yeah.
you choose your own adventure any way you want. It's always gonna end up with sports anime.
I love complex, hyper-violent anime. Sports anime?
All right.
Well, speaking of Chris, what have you been up to?
So I too watch Loki. I do like the throwback. Just a spoiler for those who haven't seen it, that are listening. Plug your ears for 3 seconds. I like that they confirmed Loki did actually die.
Yeah.
In whichever one.
Infinity War.
Infinity War. I was like, is it Infinity War? Did they verify that in Endgame? No, it's Infinity War for sure. But I also checked out. So obviously we've talked about it. Netflix is releasing just a ton of anime. But the one they launched this last weekend was called Is Trece, and it's actually based on it's an adaptation of a Filipino comic, and it's based on a lot of Filipino superstitious folklore. And I loved it. Highly recommend. I'm even gonna make my mom watch it just because it's Filipino. She's probably not gonna like it, but I'm gonna make her watch it
What
so
is
she
it
could
called again?
translate it for me. Trece, Trese.
Okay.
And it's
I'll
so
add
good.
it to my
So
list.
good. It deals with like just like all of the occult kind of things that like occult creatures of Filipino lore, like the Swami, which are just vampiric creatures, and it's really good. I might even buy the comics now because represent, you know. Oh, I also did get. I also watched Raya and the Last Dragon. I have problems.
And I have problems.
That's fair. I myself have not seen it. What are your problems?
My biggest problem is like they just took all of like South and Southeast Asian cultures and just tried to put them all together.
But Chris, they live at different points of the dragon.
I mean, that's so you could have represented what is it, seven distinct cultures within that. Instead, you
Chris,
just
we can't hear you.
you can't hear me.
Oh, nope, never mind. That's
You
me.
can't hear
I
me.
unplugged myself. Never mind.
I was like,
Mistakes were made.
it's like, I didn't
My
touch
bad.
nothing.
I can't hear anything now.
You had the opportunity to represent at least 7 distinct cultures, but instead you just tried to mush as much as you could together. And it's just like, okay, so now Southeast Asians watching this aren't going to actually have any identity in these characters because it's not distinctly part of that. You can't distinctly point toward it. So that's my biggest issue. It's like, obviously I could pick up on little things, but you don't see yourselves in the characters. And so, but yeah, it wasn't, it's still a good story. I enjoyed it. I think the best thing they did was like, I mean, when you did seafood in it, that looked good. Always picking up on the food, you know me. But yeah, so there's that. And I also watched Kim's Convenience last week. Yeah.
I keep getting recommended that
Yeah.
on Netflix, and I'm just like, well, I know the last season stuck, so I don't know if I want to commit to that or not.
You should commit to the first 4 seasons.
It's really good up till that point.
Like, the 5th season's just like all over the place. You can definitely, like, I feel like there's definitely different writers on
Shanine's
it.
like triggered over here.
There's like definitely
Yeah.
different writers on the 5th season. It like there's moments where I'm like, you know, you guys have done so well balancing, avoiding like stereotype and developing some of these characters, and I feel like some of that disappeared on this, where they kind of leaned into some of the stereotypes for Kim, and I was like, oh, sad. And then yeah, what are they talking about? They thought it ended well. Who said that? Because so much more needs to happen for that to be a good for closure in that show. But yeah, sad. Other than that, I rode about 200 something miles on the motorcycle this weekend.
Maximum zoomies.
Yeah, didn't die.
Clearly.
Always good.
Avoided all the traffic. Granted, everyone was in town, so I just took, because there was like there's so much happening. Governor's Cup, Clancy Days. There's like music all around downtown, so no one actually left town this weekend, so it's all good.
So for me, also watch Loki. We
Surprise.
just watched Bad Batch from this past week, and so got caught up on that. And then I guested on Geek Nation. They're doing a spin-off podcast called Classic Colloquy, which is looking at public domain shows. And so we talked about the animated Pink Panther shorts.
Such good
And
shorts.
It was, I did not know they're public domain. That makes a lot of sense. But like, and so we watched those and chatted through 2 of the episodes. It was really cool to go and look at OG, like animation. And kind of like with not necessarily like a critical eye, but like with an eye of like seeing how so many of the tricks were pioneered around like that time, and getting to see them like oh, this is where they're masking something and repeating scenes to save time. So they could use it to animate other things and things like that. And so it was really fun to see like the improvement as the show goes on too. And so that should be coming out soon-ish. Don't have an exact time, but keep an eye on social media for when that drops. And then on Friday, I took a staycation. And so I spent the morning playing Magic the Gathering and doing some streaming there. And then one of my best friends came over and we played Magic the Gathering.
For the rest of the day.
And then, wait for it. And then I streamed some God of War. And then some other friends came over and we played Magic the Gathering. And so all together, I played like 7 hours of Commander. And it was amazing. It was 5. And so we played like 7 hours of Commander, and I think I played like 11 hours total of Magic. So it was a great staycation. And then this weekend I had to work some because of E3, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. But so that took up a chunk of my time, and I was still able to get in a God of War stream on Sunday. So that was exciting. Although apparently I'm at like the worst part of the game now.
Oh no.
And so, yeah, Atreus has become like a little jerk and is like very,
the worst part.
like, yeah. And so I'm now like, well, got to finish this as quickly as possible so this game can get good again. But gameplay is still fun, but Atreus is awful. But yeah, so that's what I have been up to. So let's go ahead and get into our discussion topics for this week. Let's go ahead and start big. We're going to start with E3. And so the Electronic Entertainment Expo has been going on. For people watching this later, it is Monday, which means that we have not seen Nintendo or Bandai yet. So should something crazy happen in those, we are not aware in this timeline. So, so if that doesn't
develop time travel in the next week or so.
Yeah. And so unless the TVA shows up and bring us back to the sacred timeline, we are not going to know. And so, yeah, so just as a call out in case something crazy happens, that's why those are not here. And so what I thought would be fun, I think to varying degrees, we've kind of all been keeping up with it. And so let's just kind of go through one or two games that you have found interesting or really excited about and why. And so I'll go first because I was really surprised by one. And it was one of the very first ones, and that was Rainbow Six Extraction. So I've never played a Rainbow Six game, been 0% interested in any of the rest of the franchise, because it's typically like a very slow-paced competitive shooter.
Yes.
Like in a good way, slow-paced, but like, and has a very big fan base, especially for Siege. But that has just like 0% interested me. But this latest one, basically there's some sort of alien contaminant and you are on the team that goes and it's PvE. So you're fighting against the game, like with a squad, which I love. And you're basically trying to like gather resources to, I assume, find the cure. But it looks really cool. And one of my coworkers pointed out, it basically looks like you're fighting Venom. Like, sure, it's not Venom, but we know. Similar, but legally distinct from. Yeah, it's like that looks really sweet. And again, it's I like PvE way more than PvP for a lot of things. And so it definitely seems a lot more up my alley.
I definitely like that. And we were actually seeing that a lot with a few of the shooters in the session, but like that transition to like, well, let's make it more story driven, like seeing that drive. And yeah, because Siege is definitely more like it's built to be a competitive kind of shooter game with rankings and everything, and seeing that transition. And and it's a big change for them, and I really wonder what the fan base is thinking, kind of related to it. But yeah, even I'm a little interested. Not gonna play it, but a little interested.
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm
that's
no
how
good
I
at
am with a
shooters.
lot of the games. It's like, oh, this looks really cool. I know this isn't my thing.
I just feel bad for holding the team
Yeah.
back from advancing in the story.
That's the part where I default to like watching Let's Players play the games. It's like I wouldn't really play this myself, but I'm still curious enough to like know a little bit about the inner workings of the game. So I'm gonna go watch someone on YouTube or Twitch or whatever play some.
Sure. Yeah, and so like again, I have no clue because I have no context for this franchise, but I'm hopeful. Be sure to be cool, Ubisoft, if you were to give us 4 copies so we could all play together.
Yeah.
Watch us not get past the first chapter because Chris sucks.
You can't be worse than
Watch
me,
us
though.
all suck together.
just us slogging through gradually trying to get through this story. Can't repeat the first mission.
Don't even get out of the first room.
Yeah.
It's like just spawn die. It's like no one's. We're not even. This isn't
We
PvP.
just started just a second ago.
Who designed this?
Oh, man. Chris, we'll go ahead and go back to you. What is a game that you found exciting?
I am excited for the next installment to Life is Strange,
Yeah.
but also that it comes with the remasters of the previous titles.
Yes.
Life
As
is
somebody who has
Strange
not
is-
played any of them,
It's
that
such
was
a
very
pretty game. Or
It's so pretty,
games.
and
They're so pretty.
it's such a good story. I mean, like I still need to go back. Like I've only played the one,
Yeah.
and I love them. Like they're
Yeah.
wonderful. They're pretty. The characters are spot
Mwah.
on, and the newest installment is different, too. Like the powers, the how that what you're doing, instead of like the time control. You're a empath, which is
Mhm.
really cool. And seeing that character struggle with what using their power, or at least from what we've seen so far, and also representation in this seems to be spot on so far.
I think I've watched some like a let's play of the first chapter of the first one, and that's basically all I've like interacted with. So
It's
I'm-
one of those games that you could like play it 5 different times and get 5 different endings essentially. Like there's so many different ways that you could take it that it doesn't get boring.
Exactly, and also like the remasters from what from what we saw in the screenshots look phenomenal.
Yeah, this one was on my list too. I haven't played any of the others, but it looked really cool. And like slow paced, which is my kind of a game.
It's really chill.
Yeah.
It's just exploration, like pick up on clues, decide what you're gonna do.
Yeah. The stakes are medium high while also like
sometimes
being
sometimes they're big.
sometimes
You're like,
sometimes they're super high. But the game as a whole really forces it to be chilled out. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm also really bad at making decisions, but at least I don't have to be like good at video games.
yeah.
right.
Well, Shanine, what you have a pick other than Life is Strange?
Okay. Other than that, I'll throw up 2 because I'm kind of interested in them for similar reasons. Beacon Pines and Backbone. Beacon Pines is your animals, and you're in this like mountain town, and I don't know, something about a storybook, and you go around like collecting words, and that determines how the story unfolds. So, stories and words and animals, I am in.
This is a game designed for Shanine.
Yes.
Right.
I saw it and was like, it's me.
The creators actually listen to this podcast and are like, we're making a game for Shanine. Or they read her
Should put-
blog, whichever.
You should you should reach out and be like, hey, so I do animals and words. Would like to talk about your animals with my words.
I'll get you their
That'd
email.
be cool. Okay. And then the other one is Backbone, which takes place in Vancouver, except it's all animals as well. And you play like a raccoon private eye, which I'm also super in for.
Raccoon Private. I feel like I saw that one. I saw that trailer, but I don't remember.
There's a lot of like weird detective type games in this
Mhm.
E3 so
Yeah.
far. I think they're really building off the moment or the recent popularity that like Ace Detective is having in the US, the kind of resurgence. And so I'm really intrigued how that goes.
Emma, what stood out to you?
One that I'm curious about is the Guardians of the Galaxy one. I don't know if that'll be good or bad. Like, I'm just mostly curious about it. I don't know much about it other than Marvel. But the one I'm excited about, I don't know if this was an E3 announcement or not, but Slime Rancher 2. The first game is very much a stress reliever game for me because I could just play that for hours and just like chill out, both to the music and just the general tasks of it. So I'm excited for number 2 because I'm always down for more cute little jello-y creatures.
And the main character looks like a bee.
Yeah, and that.
I was like, I don't know if that was in the first one because again, I haven't played
it's
that.
It's the same main character.
Okay.
Beatrix.
Oh, it's a pun. Never mind.
Yeah, it is a pun. Beatrix. I forget her last name, but it's Beatrix is in there somehow. So I'm pretty excited for that. The first game, First Slime Rancher, is probably the most comical farming game. Well, most comical game I play, plus really the only farming type game that I play. Farming plus exploration game. So it's a fun little. I'm excited to have more of a stress relieving / just chill out game because I play so much of these other like shoot 'em and run kind of games. I'm just like, yeah, okay, let's play something nice and relaxing now.
Mhm.
So plus it just looks fun.
Yeah, it looks adorable.
Yeah,
like I'm very interested in whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy. That's my second pick, and so I'm really excited for what this game could be. It's by Eidos Montreal, who's part of Square Enix. And so technically a different team that did the Avengers game, but same publisher. And so I'm excited about that, that it isn't just the Avengers team is already struggling to do their best, let's say. Gotta believe.
They're really working hard trying to make
Yes.
the Marvel game, the Avengers game, a thing.
Yes. They're adding Black Panther. They got stuff on the horizon. Gotta believe. And I've heard the actual story of that game is very good, but the actual like post game apparently isn't great. So Guardians of the Galaxy, it's different team, and you play exclusively as Star-Lord, which is both a weird choice, considering if I had to hazard a guess, Star-Lord is the least popular Guardian of the Galaxy, or one of the least popular. I'm really hoping, though, that because it is focused on one character, it feels the same way that playing Spider-Man in the Marvel Spider-Man games feel. Like it feels designed for this character. Whereas from what I've heard from people, one of the places at the Avengers game is that it doesn't feel designed for one individual character because it has to work for all of them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm hopeful for that. I also like that there's some like RPG choices. And so like, if you don't want like trailers from or spoilers from the trailer, skip ahead a couple, like a minute or so. But one of the things that I thought was really cool is the mission that they showed. You basically have to either sell Rocket or Groot as a monster, and then break them out of a place. So basically, you're trying to get money and then steal the money by breaking them out. And there's like dialogue trees, like it has like an actual like RPG in it. And like another thing that they showed is like there's a time where Drax will toss Rocket across a gap. And if you choose to allow Drax to do that, Rocket now wants a bigger cut of the prize at the end of the mission. And so, and like it kind of does the telltale of like Rocket will remember this, that kind of thing. And so presumably like as you make decisions that can affect dialogue or post game stuff or things like that. So I'm really excited about what that could be. And then if the actual soundtrack to the game is awesome, like Guardians of the Galaxy, like that's really cool.
It definitely felt like that. Like the soundtrack seemed like it was going to be. I do like, like you were saying, I really like the storytelling mechanic of your decisions matter. I want to see how in depth that goes. And see if they go as in depth as like, you know, the Dragon Age games in terms of your decisions and how it builds into the final portion and how there's different like endings. Should be very interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see. It is one of those of like, it's E3, so we're all hyped up, but like,
yeah,
that's
why I said I was curious about it.
Exactly.
And it could go either way. Like, I'm interested, but I don't have major hopes, one way or the other.
Yep. Also, I love Star-Lord's jacket, and I really want one. So
yeah, don't we all?
I'm getting one.
But I want new Star-Lord's jacket.
Well, I just want a Star-Lord jacket. Maybe I'll wait. I'm gonna get one though. It's gonna be my riding jacket. I need a riding jacket. Then I need to get a helmet.
Also, yeah, also a good thing.
I mean, I have a helmet.
Oh, okay.
I need to get a Star-Lord helmet of some sort, somehow.
We would prefer you had a helmet, Chris.
Yes.
I definitely already have a helmet. I just want a nerdy one.
Chris, what else you got from E3?
So, this one I probably almost didn't end up watching because I was so annoyed with their opening. But Gearbox's Wonderlands. I'm intrigued.
Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Tiny Tina's Wonderland specifically, yes. But I'm excited for like a different type of game with the like, but set in that kind of that gritty style and the RPG elements and everything. That we have come to know from Gearbox, but a more fantastical setting, I guess.
Yep. It seems to be presented as basically Tiny Tina is the DM for a D&D game.
I'm not.
Which
so
I
don't
only
know how much
going terribly.
I don't know how much you could read into that, or if that's just part of the marketing, because that's kind of what they're pulling it from. But from when they talked about it, it didn't sound like it's actually going to be this fantasy game like that. That's just they're pulling the kind of lore from that to develop it. But yeah, Gearbox has started off with these really random. Let's walk around the set of the Borderlands movie. And talk randomly and
wait,
like,
are they making a movie?
Yeah, Borderlands is making a live action movie.
But that gets rid of the whole art style. That just makes it so nice and pretty. That's why I play the games. It's pretty.
Yep. I knew that one of the big complaints was that how Gearbox started, and a lot of people were very frustrated with that.
It's like, I mean, it was so frustrating because it's just literally just like talking about it, and they'd throw these interjections like not movie footage, and I'm just like, well, yeah, because you're not showing us actually anything about the movie. You're literally just walking around behind the scenes, and that's not why I'm here. If you're not going to show us actually anything about this movie, let's not go behind the scenes. How about that? I'm already skeptical of what you're doing. So,
Oh wow, they have Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett,
Holy
Kevin Hart.
smokes!
They've got some good names in it.
They've got some big names. Okay, I do have to say though, Jack Black as Claptrap is a perfect casting role.
Yep.
Perfect.
Is it?
I would not. Yes, I find Claptrap hideously annoying.
Yeah, but I feel like their annoying types are different. Like, I'm not sure Jack Black's the right guy. I think Jack Black
think he is.
does belong somewhere in this movie. I'm just not sure it's Claptrap. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this movie. And I didn't have any more sense of what to expect from the movie from the 30 minutes of what they showed behind the scenes. It's just like trying to hype it up without showing anything is dumb. It's like, oh yeah, Kate Blanchett really. It's like, okay, but don't show us any like behind the scenes actual footage of her doing the role. That's fine. Sorry, but yeah. But fortunately, like, eventually I returned to it and just skipped forward and found the actual Gearbox news.
Janine, what else you got?
Like stuff that I'm excited about, or my question? I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot else that got me hyped. I can't remember what that one game was called now. Redfall?
The vampire one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one looks interesting.
I feel like the concept looked really interesting, but the trailer itself did not get me super hyped. I don't know why. But just like the combination of like magic and tech and vampires looked pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's one from me that's on my like interested but definitely need to know more list. And I will say, I meant to send this to you because I have a game that I think you would be super interested in. And it's called Tunic. I just had to look it up.
Yeah.
But apparently it's like made the rounds for a couple of years. It's being made by one guy. And it's essentially like Zelda, like top-down Zelda, but you play as a fox. And it is adorable, and I'll send you stuff. I saw some stuff on it over the weekend. I meant to send it, but it completely slipped my mind.
I watched someone play a little bit of this, and Janine, I think you would really like it.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll post it in the Discord right now, so I don't forget. But I'll send this Steam page, and I'll tag you. Emma, what you got for your last one?
All of my E2 news is secondhand news, so I don't really actually have anything else.
That's okay. In that case, Janine, we'll double back to you. You had a separate E3 question for us.
Yes. So what are your E3 honorable mentions? So not necessarily a game that you're looking forward to, but just something that stood out as cool or just a fun thing that E3 did in general.
It seems like there's been a lot of the push for inclusion. It hasn't necessarily always been presented well, we'll say, but there has been a lot of that push for inclusion. And so like Verizon had an E3 like showcase, which is weird. But the part that I like tuned in for on it, one of the things that they talked about is that they are working with like 5 historically Black colleges to essentially like provide them like scholarships for women who are like gamers and are studying STEM, to kind of go and like, it seems almost like the like, let's get women in esports, let's get women in gaming, and like they're actually like backing it up with a lot of money. And like it sounded like they were essentially providing like and again, I haven't looked into the details, so this could not be not quite remembering, but it sounded like they were essentially providing like public like computer labs for these schools as part of their scholarships to the women that were going to get this scholarship. And it's like, that's really cool. Like, again, like, I'm sorry, I don't have all the details on that, but like, I was like, that's awesome. If that's like, if what I understood that being is what that is, like, that's really cool.
That is super cool.
Definitely.
Now I got to look it up because.
Like, get the actual details.
Yeah, get the actual details.
Yeah.
It's like, it was cool. I didn't like actually pay attention or like get a chance to watch everything or,
yeah,
but
I am curious
still,
what these colleges are, these Black African American colleges are, that they're teaming up with.
They did announce it.
Because apparently I have historical family ties, like some great family members started one in the South somewhere.
Okay, so I found the article. So it's the Verizon Game Forward Scholarship. It's happening this fall, and I'm reading from esportobserver.com. The company will launch the Verizon Game Forward Scholarship that will help esports community that with an X at the for the second letter. Verizon has allotted $1 million for the scholarship program, which will help women at historically Black colleges and universities gain degrees in technology with an emphasis on working in the video game and esports industry. Verizon will hand out 5 scholarships to each to 5 historic Black colleges and universities: Delaware State University, Dillard University, Howard University, Morgan State University, and Texas Southern University. So 25 scholarship recipients will also be guaranteed internships at top tech and gaming companies, including Verizon and its partners. In addition, some of the funding will go towards creating tech centers on the campuses of the participating schools, which will be accessible to the entire school. The scholarship recipients will also receive access to the Verizon 5G Gaming Center at the 5G Labs in LA, and take part in and learn from the work being done there related to gaming and esports.
Nice. Good deal, man.
Yeah. So like I didn't catch, like I like tuned into part of the Verizon thing during work meetings. And like that was the part I tuned in for. And so like that's all I know that happened during that. But like that's really cool.
yeah. For me, I all in all, I you know, the C3's been a bit of a letdown so far. But I'm happy it's back. But I don't know, just because it is all digital, it's all virtual, so much like it's missing something. And part of it is also just watching like these, the big stage pieces, but there's no audience.
Yeah. The sets are super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of them.
Well, yeah, sorry. The main stage is super cool.
Right. and so like, yeah, there's just something missing, but and so like I haven't, I'd say definitely Verizon thing's kind of cool. I know what Intellivision kind of released like this weird co-op console thing.
The Amico.
The Amico, that's right. Which sounds like a cool premise, but also typically these types of consoles just don't typically do well. Competing on the level. I mean, like even like big names like Google and in them couldn't really launch their own console service. So I'm always a little skeptical of when seeing those. But yeah, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Miko. It's a cool name.
Yeah. Again, my E3 news is all secondhand, so I don't have much to comment on, just in terms of anything that has caught my attention. But I don't know. My school does have a gaming development department, so I'd like to befriend some of those people and get to know some of the behind the scenes workings of that, just so that I could better understand things like E3
We'll be there someday, Emma.
someday. And I'll just go, I don't understand any of this.
Actually, I think we could probably qualify for next year.
Gotta believe. And then I have to get
Gotta.
off work.
That's a little harder for you since you work.
Yes.
Since this is like actually something you work already.
Yes. This is
So
actually
we'll
an
be going
important
without
part of my
Cameron.
job.
We'll be going without Cameron. I'll just put in for 2 passes and 2 or 3 passes. Or we'll get all 4 and just take the Anna instead. Just really rub it in.
Yeah. Look at how much fun we're having at the place you would love to be at.
But you're here with us in spirit, right? That's a good consolation prize.
Mm. Janine, did you have an honorable mention?
Yes. So my honorable mention is not quite as groundbreaking, but it is probably the best game trailer I have ever seen in my life. It just like showed some of like the game environment and stuff. And
Was
the
that the
narrator...
honest trailer?
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm saying like it was honest about what they were doing. Like, right?
Yeah. They're like zooming out and they're like, and here's the scenery and some lens flares.
Oh,
and
yes,
now
yes.
you'll see our hero, but only the silhouette because our developers haven't finished the design yet. They're like, the only thing they finished is the title. And I'm like, I have no clue what this is, but I have to play it now
It's the
because
Outer
this
Worlds
is
too.
hilarious. And
Yeah.
yes, it was Outer Worlds too. So I guess I'm playing Outer Worlds
Yeah.
too now.
The first one, like,
It came out of nowhere.
it did really well. A lot of people were very excited about it. I never got to it, but a lot of people really enjoyed it.
What was
It
this
was-
game?
The Outer Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a sci-fi game, man. It came
yeah.
out of nowhere.
I have
like-
it on Switch. I haven't played a whole lot of it, but I have it on my...
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just like I hadn't heard of it, and then it was out, and everyone was playing it.
Mhm.
It's like
'Cause it's
oh,
Obsidian, I think.
sounds about
Your
right.
your description of this is making me think
Yes.
of the trailer is making me think of the literal trailers on YouTube to Buscus. Did anyone ever watch those?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious. He did one of the Assassin's Creed games, and it's just he voices over these trailers, but just does literally what's going on, but comically. But anyway, those were things I watched as a kid.
Or like literal
And
music videos.
Pretty much what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
In chat, Travis says, by the original Fallout team.
Mhm.
And they're now also owned by Microsoft. So just like Bethesda is, just saying, they can be back. But that concludes our E3 news. We'll have some more as, again, we get, I assume that we'll talk about Nintendo next week. If nothing else,
No,
we'll be
not
sad
allowed.
or hopefully we'll be happy.
I'm hoping that Nintendo actually does something I'm excited for, because like yeah, there's really cool things happening. I just haven't been like yes at all this weekend. You know, I mean, not saying.
I mean, listeners, let us know. Comment section, Twitch chat, Discord, all those places. What are you most excited about from E3? And if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on podcast services, you do have the benefit of knowing what happens tomorrow. So you can let us know. But with that, Chris, what do you got for us this week?
So this week I just have a kind of continuation from last week's. Dongle news.
Sorry, it's been so long.
It's been since last week.
Well, I mean, in general.
But we don't do it consistently, and it doesn't have a
Yes.
dedicated spot anymore.
Yes.
But last week we kind of talked about, like, obviously, so Apple had their big event talking about new development for their iOSs and everything like that. And we also know that there is a Windows event coming later this month. But this week we got news that Windows 10 or Microsoft is discontinuing support for Windows 10 October 14th of 2025. Which is kind of crazy because we haven't, like, from like at least the first few years of Windows 10, it was kind of spouted as this the last operating system we'll make kind of situation, and it'll just be continually supported. But obviously I think they're running into kind of tech constraints and support. So yeah, they haven't officially announced, but we don't have a replacement yet. We don't know what's next. And so this just further solidifies that likely what we will see at the end of this month is Windows 11 or whatever they end up naming it.
Windows 361.
Right?
The Xbox team in charge of it.
Or they'll put Windows 365. But this is kind of big news. So far, Windows 10 has been kind of the longest running operating system for Microsoft, without, you know, new actual iterations. We've obviously gotten updates and like new developer tools and things like that have been made for it. And so it has changed and grown. But it's Windows 10 launched in July of 2015. So I mean, that's 10 years. You'll have a full 10 years of support, which will be like the longest running, because ever since 95 we have been running typically within 3-year increments, a new Windows model. Sometimes faster because certain ones failed. Looking at you, Vista.
Yeah, cough, Vista, cough.
Mistakes were made. Or Windows 8. But, and also, what are companies' problems with 9, the number 9? Just throwing that out there.
What do you mean?
Like, there was no iPhone 9.
Huh.
Windows skipped 9. People have problems with number 9. I don't know what their problem is. Because Final Fantasy 9 was the best Final Fantasy ever. Just saying. But so that's something to look forward to, and something to keep in mind for those who are running Windows 10 to possibly consider what the next generation of Microsoft OS is going to look like. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe. I don't know.
I'm going to be honest. When I saw this in the show notes, I forgot which operating system we were currently on. And so I thought this was like a legacy thing. And it was kind of like how like Windows XP is still being used, like that kind of thing.
So, I mean, like at work, we are just getting Windows 10 upgrades now. So 5 years after it's been out. And then literally just like not everyone has it. I'm still running Windows 7. And I was surprised when I got hired that we were still running Windows 7. But now I'm like, they're working on trying to get us all Windows 10. I'm like, great. Now you have to look at upgrading us in 5 years anyway. So, or within 5 years, because I'm assuming, especially for security reasons, you don't want to run a non-supported OS.
Yeah.
Especially with healthcare systems. Just saying.
Emma, I'm excited.
You're
What
excited
do you got for us this week?
for the piece of news I put in because I couldn't think of any other piece of news, and this was on my Twitter feed, so I put it in. I would like to announce that the winner of the Westminster Dog Show is Wasabi the Pekingese.
Chris, do we have the technology to put a picture of this on screen? I
Oh,
know
man.
I'm springing this on you. I
Why
feel like
didn't you just ask me earlier? I could have had it prepped.
I feel like every
for
single
context,
time.
this dog looks so ridiculous, but also like super adorable at the same time. Like he looks like a mop head, but like make it cute. Also, it's really only important because who names their dog Wasabi?
It's kind of up.
Winners. Winners name their dogs Wasabi.
Winners.
Clearly.
Thank you, Chris. I believe in you.
It's up.
So this is Wasabi the Pekingese.
Oh my gosh, it's so adorable.
You're welcome to anyone who's watching on Twitch. To all you audio listeners, I apologize. But what we've got here,
I'm gonna hide all my tabs because I know some people who are sometimes in chat give me a hard time.
Judge. What we've got here is like if you picture one of those old-fashioned mops that look like dread things, if you take the things and comb them out and then stick a cute little black dog face in the middle and then attach a leash, you've got Wasabi the Pekingese, who won this hoity-toity dog show.
Oops.
So there you go. There's my piece of news.
And from the owner and handler, what's next for the winner? A big meal. He can have a filet mignon, and I'll have champagne.
There you go.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Varoth. Varoth in chat says the trouble with Pekingese tribbles. And
Yep.
that's what it looks like. It looks like a tribble from Star Trek.
Yep. I was just reading. It won over a trim whippet, a bushy sheepdog, and a blinding white Samoyed. Two of those three breeds I have never heard of before.
I haven't heard
Those are
of-
all words, Emma.
Yeah, those are all words.
That's basically how I feel whenever people talk about dog breeds. I got
Yeah.
Golden Retriever, I got Husky, and I've got Labrador. That's about my limit.
Bushy sheepdog is just a fancy way / very perky, nice way of just saying that your generic sheepdog.
And Rachel Tension or Travis chimes in, it's hideous.
Yeah.
It's just a good boy, though.
I'm going to put a stick at the end of it and use it as a mop. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Apparently, it's breaking news according to the New York Times.
Mhm.
Why that's breaking news, I don't know. I have yet to figure that out. But
Because it's breaking news because it's timely and event. It's an event. It's the conclusion of an event. So
well, yeah,
it's like this
It
just
was indeed
in.
an
We
event.
have the
That's
results
supposed to just
of
be
the
making fun of
145th.
yeah.
It's for their
Also,
snooty
shout out to
readers.
Wasabi from Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that that's what this dog is named after.
It's probably young enough.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it
3
wouldn't be
years old.
crazy. Yeah,
He's 3 years old, so yes.
definitely could work. Let's go ahead and jump into our announcement section. And so we got streams going on this week. What's everyone up to?
Once again, we'll be streaming Pokemon Snap on Tuesday.
I will be streaming Act 2. I think, yeah, starting Act 2 of Diablo 3 on Wednesday. I'm just prepping for Diablo 2 this September. That's all I'm doing.
I will be playing some on Thursday, probably a little later than normal. I've usually been playing at 4 Mountain Time, but now that I have a job, I will be getting off probably after that. So I'll be playing in the evening on Thursday, probably like 6:37, just for some late night hangout. Subnautica, most likely that or another game I just got recently that I wanted to jump into a little bit. Depending on my mood. But I also have to figure out where I'm at in Subnautica right now and see if there's any prepping I need to do beforehand. Whether or not I get to that by Thursday, I don't know. So
Then hopefully I'll be streaming on Sunday. It is Father's Day, so I'm not exactly sure what is going to be going on time-wise with that, but to celebrate Kratos trying to become the best dad. I don't know. That's a very forced segue. But hopefully I'll be able
He's
to stream
trying.
some. Yeah, he's doing his best.
He's
It didn't
trying.
say it doesn't say good Father's Day. It's just Father's
Yes,
Day. So
he is-
you
he
get
is indeed a
celebrated
father.
regardless.
And so hopefully that'll be able to happen. Like I said, we'll see.
I would like to say his voice actor is a much better dad than Kratos is. I only know that because I'm a big fan of Christopher Judge. So,
I hope so.
duh, only the best cheesy science fiction show on the planet.
And then we were not able to do it this past week, but this Saturday, the 19th, we'll be back with more Faithful Hedrons playing some D&D.
Just kidding.
And Chris is like, what? And so I hope you're ready for more shenanigans.
So we were
And
supposed to do
then-
stuff this week.
And
No,
then,
man.
Chris, you said you were ready anytime.
I'm so ready. I've been ready since last week.
And then on the 24th is our next book club.
Is that next
Actually-
week?
Yes.
When is the 24th? Okay. I'm so behind, guys.
Next
Okay.
Thursday.
I haven't started the book either. It's on
I'm
my
also a
desk.
very slow reader when it
Yeah.
comes to nonfiction, so
Yeah. I meant to start over the weekend and I played video games instead. So
I'm a much faster reader when it comes to nonfiction
I'm super slow.
because it's real. And I'm just like,
It's a really short book, though.
that's why we picked it.
See, Chris, I'm the opposite. Because it's real, I have to actually train my brain to actually pay attention. So I will actually remember what's going on and what's being said.
My brain's like facts. Perfect.
and then Shani, we also have an announcement for the 28th. Right?
What?
Tracy's guesting on the podcast, right? Question mark
Oh,
28?
yes.
Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
I don't know what that day is.
I was like,
Neither did I. I was like,
because when you posted about it earlier today on Instagram, I thought it was today. And I was
No.
like,
it's like if it's today, you guys really got to give me a bigger heads up.
but yeah, so the author will be joining us the Monday after the book club. And so we have to make sure to be nice during book club.
I mean, I'm enjoying it already. I'm a little ways into chapter 2. It just takes a lot of mental focus for me to read anything nonfiction. So
I just
I'm
want to give
enjoying it.
constructive feedback, okay?
always, you always do.
Just kidding. I haven't even started
You'd be
yet.
a good book publisher, Chris. That could be a good.
I
role
like to
for
think
you.
so. I could. I think I could be a good editor.
Like,
Hey, consider this.
if I ever decided to write a book, I might send a copy to you to read over and give feedback on.
Better with speeches, though.
Okay.
Can I write your Academy Award speech? Just-
Sure. I'd like to thank my mom and Jesus Christ. There, go write it for me.
Let's get into our top 3 for this week. We're talking our top 3 people or characters that would be terrible boat captains and why. And so, Emma, since this is yours, why don't you start us off?
Okay, let me pull up my Word doc. Where I put
My
this
Word
down.
doc.
My Word doc. I mean, I always write this in a Word doc. But my number 1, which should be fairly obvious to most people as to why, would be the Wicked Witch of the West. Because she would just, the moment she got wet, she would melt and she would no longer be a boat captain. So, she would be surrounded by, everything that kills her. So, that is my number 1, the Wicked
Yeah.
Witch of the West, because she would melt pretty quickly.
I mean, the Wicked Witch
And-
of the East would just have a house come crash your boat. I mean,
Or that. You can just do either witch. Evil witch.
either of
You
the
know,
evil
it,
witches.
you know, it works out either way.
Witches
It
do not
works out
make
either
good
way.
captains.
But if you're going with the Wicked Witch of the West, she would spend half of her time paranoid that she'd get wet, so then she wouldn't be doing her duty as a captain. So that's my number one.
I'm going to go next. And my pick is Gimli. I was trying to think of characters that like would be preposterous to find captaining a boat. And Gimli is one that came to mind.
Why?
I mean, he's got an axe. And he's a very good sprinter, but not great over long distances.
Vikings use axes, and they all have boats.
I mean, this is a good point. Is Gimli a Viking, Chris?
I mean, dwarves are predominantly pulled from Viking lore or like portrayals, so
Okay.
pretty much.
I hereby retract my point, Gimli. I have wronged you and your family.
At the end of his life, he even ends up on a boat.
But is he captain?
No.
Okay, Gimli, get wrecked.
Only the elves had boats. So
Janine, what is your number one?
Okay. I'm just going to start by saying I had the hardest time coming up with people for this. And the first person I thought of was a literal boat captain. So
that's I'm the same. Don't worry, Shani. I'm actually still thinking of mine.
So
I gave you guys a challenge this week.
Yeah, so we look around the room to try to find stuff.
yeah. So yeah, maybe after I'll tell you who my terrible boat captain is. But my first one is Groot.
Darn it.
If
You're making this
Really?
really hard.
I just think that his crew would have a very hard time responding to his commands because most people don't understand what he's saying.
They did not take that language
Yeah.
class in college.
No,
They did not
they
take
did
Groot
not.
as an elective.
Yep. Like Thor.
Okay, Chris, no pressure. What's your number one?
We're gonna say Richard from Neverwhere.
Just go- Who's the captain of the boat in Treasure Island? Them.
They wouldn't be good. No, but Richard from Neverwhere, because he's just always he's not very self-aware, so and he'd probably try to correct someone saying one thing and then they'd just be washed up on shore.
His crew would just get tired of hearing actually.
Actually, and it like and then the actually being wrong.
Yeah. They'd all just throw a mutiny and hire someone else.
Yep. But
So-
originally,
out.
I was originally gonna say Groot too.
So going off the joke I made and what Janine had previously said, literally the captain of the boat in Treasure Island was the first thing that I thought of for mine. Of like,
It's
I mean, you could also take that route, given that there's no rule of top three.
technically
Right.
You
we're
could go with.
they
going-
are a captain and they are horrible at it.
But we're not
it's
asking for
I'm
bad
like
boat
legitimately doing
captains.
this as my number two, is the like anyone who claimed to be a captain in Treasure Island. You have whoever the original captain is. You got the pirate that literally planned the mutiny on the boat in earshot of other people and then gets caught in like their first 5 minutes as captain. Like just anyone in Treasure Island that claims to be a captain is the worst captain.
I mean, I was gonna say like Edward Smith, like a real life bad boat captain.
Yeah.
For those that don't know who Edward Smith is, he's the captain of the Titanic.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
So I hopped in line. But Emma, what's your number two?
My number two, because apparently I got the most creative of y'all, is Mario. Because A, he's too short, and B, in my imagination, the boat driving board won't take mushroom users. So he's just too short 9 times out of 10 to drive and see where he's going.
All he's got
But
to
he
do
might
is
be a
throw
good
his
pirate,
ghost hat
Or that. I don't play enough
onto
Mario
the ship,
to know.
and then he just becomes the ship and controls it.
Sure. Which comes to my third point of he'd make a pretty good pirate. He wouldn't be a good normal captain.
Oh,
He
I
would
didn't
be a
realize
pretty
it was
good
just
pirate,
normal
though.
captains.
Or whatever. Literally, I was thinking about it, and I just went, he'd be a pretty good pirate. But might not be the best boat captain. So.
Bowser, on the other hand, pilots tons of boats.
Yeah.
And
he's
seems to
pretty
do
good at it.
very well.
I mean, I feel like he does well, but I think he just has a lot of boats.
Yeah.
They're all just
He
like
needs-
crashed right off screen.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
Yeah.
it's like, I got to get this one now because that one's gone.
Janine, what is your number 2?
Okay. My number 2 is Dwight. As we see in the Office episode Booze Cruise, he knows nothing about boats. They're on a motorized boat, and they stuck him at the fake wheel, and he thinks he's driving the thing. He should not be in charge of a boat.
The wheel that they literally use to trick children.
Yes.
That's a good one. Good episode. Good episode. Chris, what do you got?
Shakar. Cameron, your character would not make a good boat captain.
I actually have a shockingly high charisma.
I mean,
I just
it's
don't
not
know
because of your
anything about
charisma.
boats.
It's not about your charisma. It goes out to sea. It goes.
Hey, we're punctual. We don't take detours. We just deliver the stuff and come back.
Except you're picking up the stuff and delivering it to the same port.
Hey, sometimes you just got to launder some money. And if you
yeah,
need to do
I was
that,
just gonna say,
Shakar's
what
your
if
guy.
there's some guy who's like has a black market and just needs to hide the material for a while, so he tricks him into just like taking stuff out into the middle of the ocean for a while the inspectors come, and then he comes back again.
The thing is, Shakara thinks he's somewhere else. So I'm just doesn't pick up on it very quickly.
Exactly. So he wouldn't be able to tell the authorities.
What is your number 3?
Me?
Mhm.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay.
Yeah, because I skipped in line for the last one. So
Right. My number 3 are Daleks, because they have no thumbs and they are awkward in size and they would get in the way on a boat. But apparently in my head, thumbs are a requirement for being a boat captain. So
I will say it does seem like there should be fan art of a pirate Dalek with a hook hand instead of the plunger. That does seem like something that has to exist.
I'd like to see it. If only I were that good at drawing.
So my last one, which I got from doing the Chris Nicolay look around the room,
Yeah.
is Ash Ketchum. I'm not saying in general I would trust many 10-year-olds to be captain of a boat. But Ash seems to not understand like how types and environments and elements work.
Well, he learns
And-
eventually, but he forgets it so by the next season.
Right,
So.
right. And so I would just be very afraid that he wouldn't understand that water is wet and like would try to like, I don't know, drive the boat inland. It just seems like he wouldn't understand what water is.
We'll see.
Is basically my concern.
Here's what would happen if Ash was working on trying to become a boat captain. We'd spend an entire series of building him up and him learning how to become a boat captain. He becomes one. As soon as he crosses into the next region, from one region to another, he forgets how to be a boat captain. And he has to relearn.
Magical
But the
barrier.
problem is, you're in the middle of the water at that point. He needs to be the boat captain now.
You're just dead.
Yeah. You're just screwed instantly.
Oh, we're officially in Alola. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
I don't know how boats work.
How does this work?
How did I get here again?
Janine, what's your number 3?
Okay, my last one is Anne of Green Gables, because I think she loves the sea, but she would just spend all of her time like staring out at it romantically and being like, wow, this is so beautiful, and would forget to actually captain the boat.
She'd write poems in her head about the twinkling lights or the shades of blue.
Yep. We'd never get where we were trying to go.
Makes sense.
Good choice. But you'd have cool poems about the shipwreck.
Yeah.
You would. It would be
Yeah.
very dramatic.
Yes.
She spends
Big.
too much time daydreaming to actually go on adventures.
My
Chris?
last one.
What you got?
Oh man. I had it too, and then I lost it when we were talking about Cameron's. It was
That's
Where
because
are
it
them
was
down?
also Ash Ketchum.
because it was also no. I don't have anything about Ash around my room. No, I don't. I've got cat bug. I'm cat
I mean,
bug.
it would also be a semi-terrible boat captain.
Probably. Like all
all
that's
good,
coming in
Chris.
my head are captains right now.
That is like the challenge of it. Is it's like the don't think about this, and so you didn't immediately think about that thing.
Think about that thing, and it's rough. And then I start trying to think out of the box, and I'm just like, no, they would make a great boat captain.
Yeah.
You went the wrong
To be
direction
fair,
with this, Emma.
We could also do that.
Non-boat captains that make great boat captains. That's what it should have been.
Okay. We can do
We
that
could
next week.
also store that in, put that in for like next week as characters that would make great boat captains.
It's in the show notes.
Is it?
I just put it in.
I'm not looking at the show notes anymore, so
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch. He definitely has an honorary degree.
Yeah, he's definitely not legitimate.
Listeners, let us know your top 3 worst boat captains. As you heard, next week we are going to be doing our top 3 non-boat captains that would make great boat captains. I feel like this is going to be a wonky one to type out for the tweet, but here we are. But let us know. And we'll discuss those next week. I'm trying to think if I had anything else. I don't think so. As always, listeners, you can find us on our social media as OneGeek411. You can join our Discord server if you want to hang out with us between shows. Shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Find our merch over on our Redbubble store. You can watch live on Twitch, be part of the post-show chat like the one we're about to have. Then you can find the videos over on our YouTube. Then you can rate and subscribe wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, and check out our website, onegeek411.com. Then you can also find us on our personal social media. I'm Himar Whittle.
I'm not prepared with an I.
I'm the Hoot and Howl on Twitter and Hoot and Howl Tales, TALES on Instagram.
And I'm not so foreign.
And it's been a great week.
Wash your hands.
Read a book.